swore I would never do a video on this game again. Here I am, dude. I've been playing BDO off and on since it released a little over 5 years ago. And I've literally been stuck in a cycle of quitting, coming back, quitting, coming back for way too long. And these are reasons that I'm going to discuss throughout this video. Mostly I've been stuck returning to BDO because no other game has combat that even comes close. Literally not even close. The combat in BDO is absolutely phenomenal. Everything else about the game we're going to talk about. If BDO was my girlfriend, dude, it would literally be an abusive relationship that I can't escape. But it's not my fault. I promise you, it is literally not entirely my fault. So first, I want to talk about BDO BDO Console now versus BDO PC, because there are some very, very clear discrepancies or differences between the console version and the PC version. For one, trying to use a controller on PC is absolutely trash, and I would 100% encourage you never to do this. I've tried optimizing BDO PC to use a controller, and it is just it's terrible. I don't even know why it's an option, to be completely honest with you. The only MMORPG that I know of that really had good controller support was like Terra. I've played ESO on console, so I heard that one was okay. But BDO on controller for PC is absolutely terrible. That is the first thing that needs to be known. So for anybody who ever wants to play a controller, which I know PC players are going to say, dude, why would you ever play BDO with a controller? But trust me, dude, when I played console versus PC, playing on controller actually feels better, because playing BDO on a controller actually makes it feel like a fighting game. It actually makes you feel like you are playing Mortal Kombat with RPG elements, which was absolutely unique. No other game even comes close to the controller input with the few skill commands that BDO has on console. So returning back to PC after playing console was subpar, so to speak, because I don't get that same feeling of inputting a combo into my controller. I don't feel like I'm playing a fighting game anymore, even though the combat is still fun on PC. Outside of that aspect, the community differs substantially. The community on console, there is a hardcore portion of the community, but they're nowhere near as sweaty as PC. And you have seasonal servers on PC, and I was able to dominate these seasonal servers pretty well, but most of the OGs don't really play on seasonal servers. There's, you got some few far in between people that will play on seasonal servers, and then they'll swap over to a new server or whatever when they're making a new character. But mostly everyone is on the actual main servers, OG servers. And the people that have been playing BDO for years, you like on PC, you will never catch up to you. On console, there's a good portion of the community, like I said, they're just not that hardcore. So you can catch up to the majority of console pretty quickly. However, the population is dying, so there are those sweats that are still around, and the sweats are starting to take up more of the majority on console. So it's getting a little harder to catch up on both platforms. But it is still easier on console than it is on PC. The optimization on console is absolutely trash. I've heard of people and seen people stream on a PS5 and, the new Xbox, but it's still nowhere near as optimized as it can be on a PC, obviously, right? There's just too much code going on in BDO. Node wars are still buggy on console, like absolutely terrible on console. Node wars are an absolute joke. They might as well not even exist. Doesn't matter what console you're on, they're literally trash. I can't remember if it was GM Sherna or GM Trent. One of them, one of their responses as to why, like we asked why the we asked him why were we lagging and why is it so unoptimized and why can't we load in? Why are things not loading in properly? Or why can't we attack things within the node war on console? And his response was, "Did you sign up?" I think Account at Games has no idea how bad it is for console players as far as node wars. But not getting too deep into that. Those are the main points, right? The main differences between PC and console. It's just really the optimization, it's the combat, it's the feel of the game. Other than that, it's mostly the same game. Obviously, PC is a little quicker to get content, especially if you're on the Korean servers. But other than that, there's no major differences. It's still at its core, it's still BDO, and it still fundamentally has the same problems. And we're gonna go into the pros and cons now. The pros, the combat. I keep coming back to that, dude, because that is literally BDO's selling point. Without the combat, the game shouldn't even exist. Shouldn't even be on the market. It wouldn't even be downloaded on my computer if it wasn't for the combat. But the combat is actually that amazing that I have looked past all of the cons of this game for years, and there are so many cons. But the combat is just that good. I cannot stress that enough. It literally, like I said, it literally feels like you're playing a fighting game with RPG elements, and there's so much class customization, which is another pro. It's one of the Korean games that actually allows you to have multiple genders of the same class, relatively speaking. Because you, like, let's, for example, you say you have Kunoichi or Ninja, or you have Mystic and Striker, or you have Wizard and Witch. Very similar. They're slightly different, they play slightly different, but they're basically the same class. So you actually have both genders, whereas a lot of Korean games will gender lock you into playing a lolly. Tara. And Soul Worker,
join the stream to Haru stream. Dude, this is a Haru bang, bro. I don't know what they're doing to me.
and it's just bad. Nobody wants to be pigeonholed into playing a certain gender just because the developers are too lazy to create more classes. So I give BDO its kudos on that. Great job. The exploration of BDO is another pro. The exploration is amazing because there's so many different zones. You know, I do like exploration to an extent, even though I'm mostly a hardcore player and I do play to compete. It's still nice to, you know, wander around the world. The world is amazingly huge. They give you like really good mounts, diversity in the like, there's diversity in the mounts if you are a sweat and you can get, you know, into a dream horse. And there's also ships. There's many different ways to explore this game, is what I'm explaining to you. And there are many different terrains within BDO. That is a huge selling point for an RPG. Although, when we get into the cons, you'll see why that exploration aspect doesn't really do enough justice as it could. Another pro, and the last pro, the PvP balance. The game is actually very balanced. Even when they release a new class, it is very good, but it's relatively to the point in BDO now where it's like whoever gets the first CC is going to win anyway. So if you mess up, you lose. And it's regardless of what class you play, as long as the other character knows what they're doing. You know, there are some few exceptions with DP memes. You may last, you know, 2 combos instead of 1. But relatively speaking, whoever gets the first CC wins. So it's still pretty skill based in that aspect. Now the cons. The cons. BDO is literally RNG hell. I cannot stress it enough. The enhancing system is absolutely daunting. I've sat there and smashed pieces for hours, failed, got back up to try, to go to TET, failed, got back up to try, to go to TET, failed, duo. Like, the enhancing system is designed as a time sink, and it's literally going to absorb your time if you're a competitive player. And that's when I started cron game, which is an absolute meme. Because on console, crons were relatively available. Last time I played, they were relatively available because people were selling these costumes on the marketplace. Pay to win players, or pay for advancement, or pay for advantage, whatever you want to call it. Pay for convenience. They were selling costumes on the market. On PC, that was so taboo that you could not get a costume ever. And if people would put them on the marketplace, they would be instantly sniped. So cronning was not an option on PC. However, like I said, they have the seasonal gear on PC, which makes it very, very, very easy to enhance your gear. So they have somewhat circumvented this con, but if like once you actually get to the real servers on PC, you're still gonna have to enhance your gear, and it's still RNG hell. And getting the pin is just a meme as it is now, as it was years ago. Pin is pin, whether you're on a 100 fail stack or 150 fail stack. You know, like, the chances are so slim. But you know, there are still people hitting pin, and there are people still hitting Kafirs. It is easier now than it was in the past, but that's, I believe, just because the player base is so low. They have to get rid of that RNG hell. Enough on that, dude. The repetitive grind fest. The game, like, it's literally it's a single player RPG with multiplayer aspects. You barely ever group, and mostly it's only the PvP. You're literally just sitting in one zone grinding mobs, getting money for hours. Depending upon your AP and DP determines which mobs you can grind at. Pick your mob. You're still going to be running in circles for hours. There's no real dungeons. There's no reason to do the dungeon that they have in the game. No real reason anyway, other than you just want to do it. Like, all the guild content, whether you're on PC or PS4, is absolutely useless, because I used to try and put these groups together for the guild, and it's like, it was fun to bring the guild together, but it was nowhere near as efficient as if people were to just do their own scrolls, or, you know, do their own farm or whatever. You can even life skill, and it was more efficient than doing the guild content in BDO. So what's the point of playing an MMORPG if you're always going to be solo, grinding in the same spot, fighting other people just to grind again in the same spot? Fighting other people was the only thing that makes it fun. I'd literally include people into my farming rotation, so now I'm PvP farming noobs while farming mobs just to have fun. It's fun for a while, dude. It's fun when there's drama, I guess, and you have a reason. This brings to my next point. Literally, people were so bored they would just stream snipe me all day and suck me in world chat anytime I turned on my stream. I guess that's the same. Like, it wasn't as bad in BDO because at least I could slap them up, but it's kind of the same in every game, dude. It's like you turn on a stream and it's just toxic suckers everywhere, dude. Freaking clout chasers. Weird, bro. But it was worse in BDO to an extent because they had nothing better to do, and I didn't blame them. It's like, okay, what, you want to fight? All right, fine, let's fight, because I'm bored too. Shit, let's go, bro. So that's literally what it is. Repetitive grind fest with nothing, no other content. Literally resident sleeper quests. Storyline is Black Spirit is pretty cool. I did fuck with the Black Spirit, but like, the storyline is it's like, it's not impactful. It doesn't really mean anything. Like, I went through the story so many different times creating alts, and it never means anything. Soul Worker has a better story than BDO. Terra has a better story than BDO. Shit, Bless Online damn near has a better story than BDO, dude. Like, it's bad, bro. It's really resident sleeper. The life skills are trash. I mean, there are a lot of different life skills, and I'll give them that. There's mini games, there's fishing, but it's like, dude, they're life skills, bro. Like, and it's not fun to do any of them. It's just a chore of collecting materials. I will give New World that. New World actually has a fun life skill system, and I don't like life skills. But BDO's life skill system is terrible. Like, New World's life skill system actually feels like you're more so playing like Far Cry. Like, you know, where you go, you gather something, you set up a camp, you whip it up in the camp real quick, you know what I mean? There's still crafting stations in the town and stuff, but New World actually has a better start or foundation to their life skill system than BDO does, and BDO has been out for years. However, I will say that BDO does have their node system, which some people may consider this a pro. I consider it a con, because this allows people to completely play the game AFK. And then they added in AFK training dummies. So you have AFK life skills, you have an AFK node empire or trade empire system, then you have AFK training dummies. So you can literally play the game almost entirely AFK. You come back to your computer to click a few buttons, and then they have a minimize to trade button on PC now. So they even encourage you to AFK. It's almost as if they're just boosting their numbers, which I'm positive that they're doing. If I wanted to play an AFK game, I'd be on my Android or on my iOS device or on my iPad. I don't play PC games or console games to play them AFK. Which brings me to my next point. It actually kills your PC. Like, getting back into BDO this last time, I actually stopped because twice my computer blue screen crashed. And I wasn't even like no life in the game like that. I was only playing like 6 to 7 hours a day, which for me, that's really casual. And I actually blue screened twice. I had a corrupted driver. My drivers crashed on my graphics card, and I completely reinstalled them and wiped them and went back into the game, and it crashed again. So I'm like, all right, dude, I sold that graphics card for sure. And then I just uninstalled BDO because I'm like, I'm not dealing with it, dude. There's no way. Like, I never had any problems with that graphics card in any other game except BDO. So, kills your PC, and then it also kills your life if you want to be competitive. If you actually want to be competitive on PC and like compete with top level players, it will absorb your life. Because there are so many things to do in that game in order to be good or competitive and to get your gear score to a point where you're top tier. And you're literally playing catch up in a game that's ancient. And the catch up mechanics aren't fun. Like, the seasonal server wasn't bad. It was decent. You know, I got somewhat of a nostalgic feel, but it's the same thing, dude. So, like I said, the cons of BDO are literally endless, dude. The cons are endless. Like, I could think of more, but I don't want to rip on the game anymore because BDO is like, I'm not gonna say it's like, it is one of the last decent MMORPGs that we currently have, even though I can barely consider it MMORPG. It's one of those games that, like I said, it's clinging to its combat, but its combat is so good that it can do that. But the day that somebody designs a better combat system than BDO, this game will literally disintegrate into pieces, never to be heard of again. I guarantee it. I don't know when that day is going to come. Apparently, it's not coming soon because I've never seen a game come close to BDO combat. But it will come one day, and this game will fall to pieces, indeed. But I think I've said enough about the game, and that is, like I said, that's largely the reason as to why I keep quitting, right? Let me touch on that. I keep quitting because every aspect of BDO sucks outside of the combat. I'm just going to be honest. Like, yeah, I gave you a list of pros, but I've been playing the game so long that for me, the only reason to play is the combat. Everything else is trash. So when I go to another game and I'm playing and I get through the story and I get through the progression and I get through that new car smell, and I'm left with just a game that I've already completed the same way you get to, like, the same point you get to in BDO. When I get to that point in other games, the combat isn't there to hold me on. But in BDO, at least I have the combat to cling to. At least I can run around in circles and grind my life away for some gains, because there are always gains to get in BDO, because it's so hard to enhance and get perfect pin and like in Caphras and then Black Star, like, and there's so much progression in the gear, even though it's not fun progression. It's just grind, endless grind, which, like I said, it's kind of a benefit, and it works for BDO because there's really no other game that can hold my attention, and apparently many other players' attention, to a point where I'm actually willing to sink time into the game after I've hit that min-max point, that end game point. So like I said, I'll give BDO that. The combat is great, but like I said, that's the same reason I play, the same reason why I keep quitting, dude. It's not enough. It's not enough. But yeah, thanks for watching, you guys. I appreciate each and every one of you. It's been real.